Nice. Two defenders sprinting down the middle of the field to the 20, 15, 10, 5, lunges for the end zone. Touchdown!
Well, we took our shots down the field and capitalized on them. I think we can do a good job again. If we get one-on-one down the field, you just got to take it. Let's give our guys a shot, and they're going to make plays for us.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronus, presented by FantasyAlarm.com on Bettor Sports Network.
The playbook is live. Let's do it. Let's win. Let's open up the playbook. Let's talk plays. Let's have some fun. What's going on, everyone, here on the Bettor Sports Network? My name is Justin Fensterman, along with Adam Rodgers, per the usual, and this is the playbook powered by FantasyAlarm.com. But, Roan, we are not alone, man. What's going on, dude? I know that you used to co-host with Lisa Ann here, who's joining us on Bettor Sports Network. I know that you used to co-host with her on SiriusXM. What's the deal, dude? Are you replacing me with Lisa Ann? Is this how you tell me?
Well, I thought we would do it a little more subtle. I guess you're getting sharper the more you work with me, but that is a preliminary plan. So you better get your game together.
Oh, I'm sweating. Lisa Ann, what's going on? Welcome to Bettor Sports Network. How are you?
I'm great. You know, Justin, you're just such a great producer that Adam and I really got together and we thought to ourselves, like, man, he was such a good producer. Losing you as a producer, I mean, you know what I mean? Trade in value. Really good.
Don't give Matt Deutsch any ideas, okay, Lisa, all right? I'm happy to be here. Worked hard to be here, as you have as well. Lisa, what has it been for you since being involved in the fantasy sports side of things? You're almost at 10 years, aren't you?
I know. 2013, Adam, I remember the very first time I met you. I went into that studio at Columbus Circle. I met the King. Was very surprised when I met the King. Did not expect that at all. And we clicked right away, you know, both of us being Dallas Cowboys fans. You later introduced me to your beloved New York Mets. And it's just been great. You know, I've met some of the nicest people in fantasy sports. And also, it's a great way to feel emotion, right? Because your heart breaks every week. Some players make you extremely happy. Other players just crush your soul. You make that one last minute tinkering of a lineup and you regret it. Sometimes 15 minutes into the 1 o'clock game, you're already, you know, upset with yourself. And it's just a great range of emotions. I love it.
Absolutely, indeed. Now, Lisa Ann is with us, not just randomly. There is a reason for that. You can give her a follow on Twitter at The Real Lisa Ann. Also, the Lisa Ann Experience podcast on Apple. Catch her there as well. Does not stop working, a grinder here in good company. But Lisa Ann, you got yourself a little announcement here. Everyone's been waiting. Our ratings have been sky high over the last couple of shows here. Let's not wait any longer. I mean, you're with us. You're hanging with us on BSN. What is your big announcement that you've been promoting?
I mean, Adam, do we tell him the truth? I mean, is this when we break it to him that he's really going to go back to being a producer? Or were we waiting longer in this show to do this? Okay. I will be joining BSN, and I will not be bumping you, Justin, even though I miss working with Adam so much, but I do get to get back on air with another host that I worked with that I really enjoy, Rick Kamla, who you know from NBA Radio. You also know he is here every night, 7 to 10 p.m. I figured Wednesday would be a great spot. You guys have known what it's like to host a show on your own. And this time he's there Monday through Friday. So I will be right in the middle there. Wednesdays, joining Rick Kamla every single week from 7 to 10 p.m. Super stoked about it. And probably would have started this week if there wasn't a hurricane in Florida where Rick lives.
Absolutely. What an announcement. Lisa Ann joining Rick Kamla. That's pretty much going to be a positive vibes show at that point between you and Rick. And I know Lisa worked together before on other platforms. It's going to be a great time. The in-game, it's different. Sports talk, it's different when you're preparing for the games to begin. When the games are going on, it's a different kind of rush. The adrenaline's right there. I mean, Roan, you're on Bettor Zone from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern every Sunday on the network. You're in there while all these games are going on. We talked about just how much the competition for fantasy means to us, Roan. So what is Lisa going to be facing, you think, mentally during this show? Because it's going to be an amazing adrenaline rush for her.
She's used to it because, you know, we were on during Monday Night Football. So we pretty much come on when it's about halftime. So we had the whole second half and we had live NBA games as well. So I think this is also good timing for her because we know the NBA starts in a couple of weeks. So that Wednesday usually a busy night in the NBA, so there'll be plenty of NBA, as the games start, as the games are finishing, as the West Coast games are beginning. So it'll be a little, recap of what's going on and a preview of the night game. So it'll be good. And then you'll have the baseball playoffs for this month. And hopefully our New York Mets get it done. A huge, huge series in Atlanta this weekend. I am so freaking pumped for the Mets Braves this weekend. And the Mets better take care of business.
Well, if they don't, though, Ronus, are you still going to show up on Monday?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Lisa,
if they get swept, I will not be
Lisa,
here.
if his teams don't show up in critical moments, is he going to ghost the show? I mean, you've worked with Adam longer than I have.
He won't ghost the show, but he will be very emotional. And I can only imagine, Adam, you're on 1 to 5 on Sundays. What is it like for you? Because I can remember a couple Monday night games where your matchup was coming to the final hour. It was really, we were clipping. And I know as a producer, Justin doesn't like that sound. That's when we're yelling. Very emotional times Monday night. How do you handle this on Sundays, Adam?
Well, Monday's worse because the fantasy game is being decided. So that's more. Now, we've already had talks and Matt has had to try and calm me down. So I do react to plays, I can't help it. Like if I see a long touchdown or if I hit a prop, but the good thing is people are kind of sweating the same things because we do prop wars on Friday. Justin and I give out 5 props each, Lisa, and I don't need to tell you I'm doing better than him so far, but what's expected.
Obviously.
But hopefully if people are listening on Friday to this show, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern, and they're getting the same bets that I'm making. So they're sweating with me. So they understand. But yeah, it is different. I've never done the live Sunday. You got 7, 8, 9 games going on at the same time. But it's a lot of fun. Corey Parson, who I've worked with a long time, and Tom Casale's really good too. So it's a fun sweat and it's like a watch party. And I think people really enjoy it and they like seeing people emotional because they're going through the same thing.
Oh, you know what I bet they love too, Adam? When people can't be, let's say you're a parent and you've got to be at your kid's Little League, but you're actually listening to the network so that what's going on. They're feeling the emotion as if they were watching the game.
Exactly. And that's what we're kind of there for, to help people who maybe are at some event and they kind of want to tune in and follow, and we let them know what's going on, the betting trends. So yeah, we're used to that. And that as we work together, but I think the Monday one is more crazy because your week is being decided. Like I lost this past Monday when Daniel Jones threw that interception. I lost by 1.4.
Wow.
And it is Thursday and you're definitely not over it yet.
No, that one, you know why that one wasn't bad? Because the one thing I was the second highest scorer of the week. I just happened to be facing the highest scorer in that league. If you beat the league average score, you also get a win. So I went 1-1. So it wasn't as bad. If it was just one, then yeah, but it's early in the season. It was rough, but the Cowboys got a win. So I was kind of more satisfied because I love when the Dallas beats the Giants. That we've been to 2 games and they won both, right? Yeah, because Cowboys have won 8 of the last 9 against the Giants now. So anytime they beat the Giants, it's a great week because I can't stand all these Giants fans around me. And they all thought they were good and they're all frauds.
Yep. He got a lot of heat from Giants fans leading into the game, Lisa. I'll tell you that much. If you couldn't tell, not like he's holding any kind of grudge or anything like that. Lisa, you're a Cowboys fan. How did you become a passionate sports fan? We both have talked about it numerous times about us on how we got into this racket here, but how did you become a passionate sports fan? What were your inspirations early on?
Growing up in Pennsylvania, I was just raised by a sports family. And I think the Northeast, living out West for years, people are just not as invested in sports as we are here. Growing up with a mom who was a basketball mom, we went to every single home Lafayette College game. She would actually cook with other moms for the away team. So before they would get on the bus, they would have a meal, and that was her way to get us kind of season tickets. And so I grew up with my entire fall basketball schedule revolving around college basketball. And then 1983, I went to my very first 76ers game and realized that squeaking on the sneakers on the court was like everything. Then Sundays were football days. And, the Cowboys were a more prominent team in the 70s and 80s because we didn't have Red Zone. We didn't have all of these different networks. So you really watched 3 or 4 teams. You followed 3 or 4 teams, and I was raised in a Cowboys family. It wasn't really a choice, though I'm glad that is the team that I was able to ride with and still ride with. So I just grew up loving sports, played basketball all through school. And now I live in a building that actually has a basketball court, so I get to play again every day.
Nice. Now, when it comes to your fantasy teams and everything, whenever you played fantasy, are you somebody that eliminates yourself from drafting other teams that are the Cowboys' rivals, or do you view it like it's fantasy, this is business, this is your team, and if you have a few Eagles on your team, well, so be it?
I was trained by Adam Ronus. So, of course, I was trained to not draft like a fan. Though I will admit, early on in my fantasy career, I made a mistake with too many Cowboys. They all were injured at the same time. It is heartbreaking. But no, Adam really taught me about diversity and drafting the best players and also not being so heavy in the emotional factor, right? So let's say, like Adam, he just admitted that he didn't mind losing that matchup because the Cowboys still won. So when you have that balance, if the Cowboys lose, but I win on my fantasy team, I'm still pretty happy, and it can go vice versa.
No, absolutely. And you know what? It's one of those things. You're trained by Adam Ronus here, and Adam Ronus is a competitor. That's a thing. Nothing means more to Adam Ronus than winning. That's something that he was talking about yesterday on the playbook. And that's why it's just so great being here with both of you very passionate. We're all passionate. And hey, all of you out there are passionate Bettor fans. Hit us up in the comments section. Let us know what's going on. Say hi to Lisa. You're going to be getting to hear a lot more from Lisa every single Wednesday with Rick Kamla. Rick Kamla currently evacuating in the Florida area, although we did get some news now, a little bit of the downgrade in the storm. From what we know, the game between Tampa and Kansas City should still be played in Tampa. We're actually going to talk a little Thursday night football as well. We'll talk some props. We'll preview the game. Lisa, how many fantasy teams do you have?
So this year I kept it light. Though I drafted 22 teams, I only kept 12 for myself, and I gave 12 away. So I kept 10. I gave 12 away to friends where I'm kind of co-managing their leagues. They really wanted to start playing. The draft, I found, is the most intimidating part. So what I did was I was in the draft room with them, and I helped them draft their team. I helped them set their lineups. And then there's, moments where I'll get a text during the week, hey, do you think I should drop this player? And I could see by probably week 5, week 6, some real independence growing there. But I just wanted to get more of my friends involved, because up until this point, like, I've been doing this since 2013. Like, most of my girlfriends have no idea what I do for a living. Like, they're like, what do you do? They're not sports fans. So I'm getting them into it, and more companies are having leagues. And so more people are coming to me that are like, oh my gosh, my boss is putting a fantasy league together. Like, I have to be in this. I'm like, I'll co-manage the team with you. So I had a matchup this week with Adam Ronus in one of my leagues. Is that correct, Adam?
Yes, a team that I did not draft, by the way.
Right.
Oh, what does that mean? Is that an excuse already?
No, I mean, the team is solid, but I probably would have handled some things a little bit different. But I was on this show when the draft was underway, so I didn't want to disrespect you, Justin, and draft while doing the show. So I had to have someone draft for me.
That's very
nice.
Yes,
Lisa Ann did get the victory this past week. I think you're 3-0 and I'm 2-1. That was my first loss. But I mean, look, the team is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it, but I did not draft it.
Well, what weren't you happy with? Like, let us in on this team a little bit, Rowan.
I mean,
what decisions weren't you?
I have to go back and look at the exact one, but it's super flexed. I did get, I think, Josh Allen with the second pick, which I'm fine with. My friend didn't really know. He said he's never drafted super flex before. I'm like, you got to take a quarterback early because you don't know what's going to happen at the end. So got Josh Allen with the 2 pick overall. So I was good with that. Do have DeAndre Swift, who likely not going to play this week, but Jamal Williams is on that team. So I'm happy about that. Second quarterback is Goff and Lawrence. I'm good with that. And I got Gabe Davis to pair with Josh Allen, which was great week 1. And, now we'll see. He was banged up last week, dropped the touchdown, did not practice today after being limited yesterday. So that's something to keep an eye on. But overall, it's fine. I think it's solid, but, it's not I didn't draft it.
Right. So, you know what? That's all right. But hey, you're still part of the team anyway. Lisa, who are some of the players that on your zillion fantasy teams, for the most part, are there any players that you have 3, 4, even 5 shares of this season?
I tried to be a bit more balanced than that because it's so much work when one of them gets injured and you have them on more than 3 teams. That's kind of my limit. But I will say I have Amari Cooper on 2 teams just because he was such a late pickup. And I thought, who knows? Like maybe this will be a great season for Amari Cooper. Maybe it won't. And I'm really happy with the numbers I'm getting from Amari Cooper. As for quarterbacks, I didn't get Josh Allen in any of my leagues. And it was devastating each time, even in a super flex. But I never got a spot before round 8 to draft from. So you're in a super flex. He's going between picks 1 and 3. And I get the reasoning behind it, but it just left me no shares of Josh Allen in any of my leagues.
Yeah, I'm not a super flex guy, Lisa. And I guess I'm old school, like traditional like that, where, I guess old school, then I'd be playing standard format, which I don't do. But I just like the one quarterback. I know the potential of 2. It keeps things a little bit more challenging, definitely harder to stream, very hard to stream, even that on the waiver wire. I don't know if you have a preference in one format or the other, but if it were up to me, I actually really only play in one super flex. I prefer just the one quarterback starting leagues. What about you?
So you're saying you'd rather pick a kicker than another quarterback. That's what you're saying, Justin.
No,
right?
I'd rather have no kickers, no defenses, and give me an extra flex. That's what I'd rather have.
Well, I mean, you can flex. I mean, look, if you don't believe in your quarterback and you want to throw a wide receiver in your flex in a super flex, you have the option to do that as well. And I've seen players win. Adam, there have been times you've done that in leagues in one-year matchup because maybe it was a bye week situation or what have you. You're not going to throw a player back on the waiver wire just because you need to fill that flex spot. A wide receiver gets it done for you. So there's that as well. But
you have that
Justin,
option.
To each his own. Yeah.
Yeah, you have that option. I mean, look, most people in a super flex league are going to put in a quarterback because they score the most points. But there will be situations, especially with bye weeks coming up, where you might only have 2 quarterbacks in a super flex league. And I do play in one where I only have 2 quarterbacks. So it's Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones. Talk about a disparity in points and talent. but the weeks one of those guys on bye right now, I'm going to have to put in a receiver or running back, and I'm fine with that.
Looking at Amari Cooper in his matchup this week, Roan, I don't know where you have him ranked there. I guess I'm a great teammate that I haven't checked your rankings in the last 12 hours at fantasyalarm.com. So you can get on me for that. But good matchup for Amari Cooper this weekend against Atlanta. And Atlanta letting up a lot of receptions thus far in the young season. And Amari Cooper, we talk about other options that they have besides the running backs, David Njoku, but Amari Cooper getting it done, and those targets just continue to grow. Still a young season, but definitely good to see in a very nice spot this week.
Yeah, right now I have him ranked in PPR and fantasyalarm.com 19th at wide receiver. And Lisa Ann got fortunate because I benched him last week against you, and I could have used all those points. That was the Thursday night game, and I'm like, okay, one bad game, one great game, and boy, sitting there watching that, I'm like, whoops. So that cost me a W last week. I do have Cooper in best ball, and then the league, Lisa Ann's league, is the only other league. So, Cooper is going 6th, 7th round because I think people were worried about Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. But Brissett has been pretty solid, and Cooper's going to get the football. So he's turning out to be a good value. And then when Deshaun Watson comes back, and I know we're still weeks away from that, watch out, man. I mean, this Cleveland offense could be really fun to watch.
Yeah, Lisa, you got yourself a nice value with Amari Cooper. And over the last couple of weeks, I mean, he's gotten into the end zone, 16 receptions collectively, double-digit targets, over 100 yards. It's really good, and this is going to keep going for him against Atlanta. Lisa, we also talk on this network about collectibles and sports memorabilia. And Ronus is kind of you can see from his background, kind of a sports memorabilia guy, I'm very into it. What about you? Do you love collecting sports memorabilia at all?
So there was a time for many, many years, my entire house was decorated with nothing but sports memorabilia. My girlfriends eventually told me I should probably switch up my whole look. They're like, they would come to my place and be like, why don't you make it look like a girl lives here? But when I was moving from Los Angeles to New York City, I knew I wasn't going to have the wall space since everything is pretty much windows. And so I let go of a large amount of my sports memorabilia collection. So it was hard to part with, but it was 25 years in my life. Some of the collectibles I had, a signed Michael Jordan jersey, Joe Namath. I had so many jerseys. Every wall was jerseys. So did not move the things with me, but do admire a good sports collection and love to look at the stuff in different places, like even different studios. When you watch different shows and you see all the different bobbleheads and all the different autographed items, it's just amazing. And I know there's great giveaways right here on the network.
Yes, absolutely. Oof. And a lot of it. I know that some of you are tweeting us at Bettor Network, by the way, getting some of the jerseys. Rome, we gave away that Marvin Harrison jersey, and I am very, very jealous when I saw that tweeted at us with the nice autograph there. Lisa actually Get in the Game is asking us in the comments section, if you can get a new sports memorabilia item at this point, what would you ideally want? You could get anything you want autographed by any player you want that you don't have.
I did save. So I saved my Michael Jordan signed ball because I had to save it. I still have like 2 boxes of stuff in storage here in my building. If I could have one thing, this might sound odd, but maybe the last tennis racket Serena Williams played with.
Okay.
Legendary career.
What?
What?
No, I'm saying that is different.
I know it's different. Of course I would. I mean, look at that career and the fact that, still playing to the best of her ability up until this last Open. I mean, it's just amazing. Incredible.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually do have a tennis autograph, and it's funny you mentioned Serena Williams because the run that it started to look like that she was going to go on a little deeper run in the U.S. Open, I actually have a Jimmy Connors autograph picture, and Jimmy Connors had that run at the U.S. Open back in 1991, where I believe he had just turned 40, and he went all the way to the semifinals, lost to Jim Courier there. But I thought that Serena was getting ready to do a run like that in the U.S. Open. So it's funny you say that because when you mention Serena, it immediately makes me go back to Jimmy Connors and that run. And it's just incredible to see what we've seen from Serena Williams. And it's incredible to have Lisa Ann on Bettor Sports Network every Wednesday, Bettor Sports Live with Rick Kamla, 7 p.m. Eastern, right after us here on the Playbook. We're going to get into not only Thursday night football, we're going to talk a little basketball. Lisa's a big basketball fan like us. We've been talking a little bit more basketball with the season less than, I believe, 3 weeks away from starting now. So we'll talk a little bit more NBA, and then our annual fantasy football hash out Waffle House style with a fantasy twist. Lisa, are you a big hash browns fan at all?
These are going to be invisible carbs for me. Adam knows how I eat, which is very selective. Hash browns, they do have a place in our lives. They are important. Yeah, I'll go for them. I mean, I haven't eaten at a Waffle House. We called them awful houses when I was on the road. The only great thing about an awful house is that you can eat everything you want for less than $20. Like, It is the cheapest, right? It's so cheap. Like, just give me one of everything, and it'd be like $18. But don't look behind the counter at the Awful House because you will see things you don't want to see.
Well, to be
Ronus,
fair,
there goes our sponsorship.
No, we were in Canton, Ohio, and nothing was open. And we were starving, and we found the Waffle House, so that's why we went. It wasn't by demand, like, oh yeah, let's go there. It was just like, what's open? Waffle House. All right, let's go. We're starving, so that is why we went.
Yes,
but wasn't it good because it was the only thing open? Like, you get to the point where you're so hungry that the food is amazing.
Well, okay, so if you go to the Waffle House, Lisa, and I don't know if you've heard the stuff that went on, but if you go to the Waffle House, what would you ideally eat there?
So I would always get them to make me a grilled cheese sandwich with eggs in the center and put the hash browns right on the sandwich. It was a very customized order. You throw in the extra $5 cash tip for this, but you get a grilled cheese. They do the cheese on each side with tons of butter, right?
Wow, this is a
put
different
the egg
Lisa
on
Ann
there,
than
put
I
the
know.
hash brown. The eggs on, put the hash browns on, close that thing up, and man, just cut that thing open. That is what I get at the Waffle House.
Would you get a waffle
Ronus.
too? She had eggs. Shut up, Justin. She had eggs. Okay. Do you know what Justin?
She didn't
Okay,
mention
first
the
of all,
waffle, Ronus.
No.
She did not mention the waffle.
she had eggs though. So Lisa and Justin had never been to a Waffle House. Not one time. The guy lives in Maryland where they're popular, never went. What do you think he ate at the Waffle House? Do you know what already happened here?
Not at all, but I could not wait to hear because it's also you could also get the sandwich made with waffle, Justin. So you know, but you have to put the egg in it. What did you get, Justin?
Tell her.
I got a steak sandwich, okay? I don't like breakfast.
See,
for
thank you.
dinner.
Look at her reaction.
No,
Look at
she's
her reaction.
astounded. She's astounded. She's amazed. She's like, wow, Waffle House is a
No,
steak
she's
sandwich?
not.
Amazing.
First of all, I didn't even know that was on the menu, nor should it be on the menu. That's not what Waffle House is, okay? Waffle House. Waffle is in the name for a reason. It smells like waffles. It smells like breakfast. It doesn't matter if you go in there at 3 in the afternoon or 3 in the morning. You're getting breakfast. I mean, how was the steak sandwich at the Waffle House?
Oh, it was amazing. I had an amazing meal. I finished my meal about 25 minutes before Ronus finished his, and it was a great meal. And then this came up when our show started here on the network, and all of a sudden, like, I'm a bad person for not getting a waffle.
Well, at
It
least
just
eggs.
seems like a missed opportunity because they have the old cast iron waffle things, and they use like this amazing amounts of butter. Their butter comes in like tubs like this big. Like, Adam, what did you have at the Waffle House?
Well, I don't know if I'm normal, but more normal than Justin.
Yeah.
I had eggs, a waffle, hash browns, bacon.
That's normal Waffle House food.
Exactly.
And it was
And
good,
it's-
right?
Yeah. And it was around midnight. So he's like, oh, I can't eat breakfast at midnight. I mean, come on, man. You can eat breakfast at any time of the day. Okay.
Well, it's not that I can. I know I can. I just don't want to. I
But
know
again,
that the option's there.
It's like going to IHOP and ordering a burger, going to a steakhouse and getting chicken. You're at the Waffle House and you get a steak sandwich. And
I
Lisa,
should've gotten it
it's
on
like
the
you
it's
saw
like
Lisa
going to
Ann's
Shake.
reaction. It's the same
It's like
thing
going to
how I
Shake
react.
Shack and asking for a waffle. But like, Justin, I have to ask you. Like, first of all, I would have never trusted the word steak. Now I understand they do steak and eggs, but like a steak sandwich at a Waffle House, what condition was that in? I mean, what do you think that kind of meat do you think that was? It definitely wasn't organic or anything. Like that could have like sat in your stomach for
was
weeks.
a
How'd you
rat.
feel? How'd you feel the next day?
Actually, it was free range steak, of course. No, it wasn't anything like that. I felt fine. I was satisfied with my meal. I was fine. Now that you mentioned I could have gotten it on a waffle, maybe I should have done that and given the $5 tip, which would have been more than the whole bill pretty much at that place. But yeah, that's
I'm
what happened. That's
mind
what
blown.
happened.
Strangest thing I've heard so far in 2022, obviously.
Hey, at least I'm good for something then. She's Lisa Ann. Give her a follow on Twitter at The Real Lisa Ann. This guy laughing hysterically right here, a former co-host, Adam Ronus, at Adam Ronus. I'm Justin Fensterman at FenST Sports. Keep the hate coming. It's all right. You'll be able to hate on me more. Trust me, the more you tune into the playbook, and you better tune in every Wednesday right after us, 7 p.m. Eastern, Bettor Sports Live with Rick Kamla and Lisa Ann joining Rick. It's going to be awesome. A very high-powered time slot in the afternoon and evening coming up on Bettor Sports Network. Let's start talking Thursday Night Football. I see some of your comments regarding Thursday Night Football. We'll preview the game. We'll take a look at maybe some props and see what we're feeling. Not going to force anything, but let's get the week going. Let us know if you're dealing with any fantasy issues and what bets you're making tonight for Bengals, Dolphins. This is the playbook with Fensti, Ronus, and Lisa Ann, powered by FantasyAlarm.com here on Bettor Sports Network.
Bettor Sports Network. It's sports talk done better. Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media.
When you're a celebrity quarterback, you got to be a champion. Russell Wilson has been a champion, not a champion no more. Let me read off some of the names right now playing better football at the quarterback position than Russell Wilson. Mitchell Trubisky, who's been a dog, has better numbers than Russell Wilson. Matthew Stafford with Tommy John, better than Russell Wilson. Mac Jones, who throw more passes to the other team than to his own teammate, better than Russell Wilson. 5'5" Baker Mayfield, better than Russell Wilson. $2 Topps Chrome Geno Smith, better than Russell Wilson.
Not $2 anymore, man.
Daniel 10 cents on the dime Jones, better than Russell Wilson. Jacoby Brissett can only throw the ball 4 yards down the field, better than Russell Wilson. Jameis Winston with 4 broken bones on his back, better than Russell Wilson. The list goes on and on and on of people playing better football than Russell Wilson. Celebrity quarterback, he's up here. NFL quarterback, he's down here.
Moose and Keith.
Moose, are you aware that there were 2 gentlemen walking behind you while we were talking?
Yes.
Yes. I saw some guys walking with suitcases or some kind of bags or something.
Angelo, Dave, here's what I love about you. Like, I've never met you in person. I appreciate you looking out. Like, because I've got these like noise canceling headphones on. If I was not paying attention, you're like, by the way, there are
Moose,
people in the background.
You're so dialed into what we're doing. And I saw these guys just walking. I just was making sure that you knew that they were there. Because, I mean, if you're not, I get engaged. When I look at Irizarry, I get engaged and I'm looking and I'm listening on the edge of my seat. We're all doing our best here. I didn't know if you knew they were there. I was getting concerned. I was starting to text Irizarry. Does he know? I do have your number, Moose. I got to call you.
Yeah.
What's so funny, Keith? Stop laughing. There was guys walking behind him. They looked like big guys, too.
They were,
Angelo.
Yes. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronus.
Someone today asked me a question, and they said, should I pick up Tyler Conklin? And then it was like, what about Logan Thomas? I said, look, and I've said it on this show. What you're doing now is you're getting the guy who did well the previous week, and then it's a cycle. Then you're going to drop him and want the next guy. Logan Thomas scored a touchdown in week 2. He did it in week 3. Now you want to get rid of him. If your tight end scores a touchdown, you're going to be happy. You're not going to look at the 3 for 44. He scored a touchdown.
Right.
Then he doesn't score a touchdown. Oh, damn, he only gave me 6 points. I got to get another one. And that's the problem with the tight end position. You've seen some of the guys in that mid-tier, right? Njoku had 2 bad weeks, monster week. Freiermuth, we saw it with 2, right? Quiet in week 3. Week 2, scored a touchdown. Good week. That's how it is. You got to start looking at these tight ends who kind of on the field a lot, running routes, but that's going to be the nature of the position if you don't have one of those top ones. Once you get past like that top 6, that's what you're dealing with.
Better Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
Tua in the locker room. Teddy Bridgewater now at quarterback. Tua a little shaky getting up following the hit by Matt Milano, who was flagged on it.
I know there's a lot of adrenaline mid-game, but how difficult was it for you to go out and actually throw the ball on Sunday after halftime?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult because, I mean, we weren't out there as much. And so sitting down on the bench, back started to get tight and then things started to lock up. So I had to kind of move around, a little on the sideline. But for the most part, just got to find a way to get our playmakers the ball. And nothing feels better than a win.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
It's the Playbook with Fensty, Ronus, and Lisa Ann here on Better Sports Network. You just heard from Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa on the Dolphins radio network talking about how he felt after he took that crazy shot. And Lisa, this has been the biggest conundrum here. How Tua, after taking that hard hit, and I don't know if you saw him stand up afterwards and start wobbling around, but like it was a boxing match. But it's funny that he's mentioning that it was his back and, lower body, but it really did look like he was very concussed there. I don't know what you thought, but I almost thought this whole back injury and everything, because he later returned to the game, I almost thought it was a farce and he was concussed and they were trying to sweep it under the rug, Miami.
Yeah, and I've been really high on Tua this year. And at the beginning of the season, bringing him up I was made the laughing stock. I will admit that. I did tuck him on my bench for week 1 in 2 leagues, but played him in 2 leagues, week 2 and 3. It did look off, but this is like Deflategate. This is like other things in the NFL. These are mysteries unknown, but we need to know, can he produce to the best of his ability? It was shocking that he was even back in the game. I wrote him off when he wobbled off the field, like, okay, he's out for the rest of the game, comes back in. So who knows if we'll ever uncover this real mystery, but it looked like more than a back. But again, we don't know what it's like to get hit out there like that. Could have just knocked the wind out of him, and he did pass protocol. So let's just hope for the best for the rest of the season, because the momentum that he has so far has been really exciting. It's great to see the team really behind him. I think Tyreek Hill has breathed a lot of life and confidence into Tua, which has been great to see. And we want him out there like he's been so far this season.
Yeah. Roan, how do you feel about this matchup? I was looking on DraftKings Sportsbook, and the spread is Bengals favored by 4. We saw them with a nice bounce back against the Jets, as you and I were talking about. I mean, people were thinking, oh, well, maybe the Jets can have some momentum. No, the Jets aren't that good of a team, and the Bengals showed us why. But going into this game, I mean, the Dolphins offense a little bit banged up here. Jalen Waddle a little bit banged up. Tua obviously banged up. How do you feel about the Bengals offense going into this one after Miami just beat Buffalo?
I love the Bengals to cover tonight. Love this spot. It's a really bad spot for Miami. They're coming off an emotional win in the heat. They have a short week. They have to travel. The Thursday night team at home usually does well. The Dolphins come in banged up with some injuries, even though it looks like a lot of the guys are going to play. And I think people are just jumping to the wrong conclusion on Miami. They act because like they're 3-0, like they're the best team in football. They're not. Let's break it down and be honest with ourselves here. They beat a bad Patriots team in week 1 and give them credit for the comeback in week 2, but they needed to score 28 points in the fourth quarter. Through 3 quarters, they were not playing well in that game. And last week was a fluke, man. I mean, Buffalo outgained them 497 to 212. They ran 90 plays to 39. The Bills just couldn't capitalize on a couple situations, couldn't get off that final play where McKenzie couldn't go out of bounds. You give them credit for what they've done, but, you know, don't act like they're unbeatable. They're a good team and they're improved, but, you know, they've struggled at times here, and they're fortunate to get those 2 wins. So I see the Bengals winning this game tonight. I know the Bengals have looked shaky. They did bounce back last week and get the win that they needed to, but this is a critical game for the Bengals tonight if they want to contend there in the AFC. So I love the Bengals here tonight.
Yeah, the Dolphins have led up the second most amount of passing yards thus far. And that's something that we all have to remember. Joe Burrow, he's good. And I know that we were thinking here going into the last week's game, I mean, is the protection that he got, is that going to be able to help him? Is he going to withstand this Bengals offense, Lisa? I'm just so convinced because I'm in a season-long betting contest where essentially you bet every game, you keep your score for the entire season. One of the games, though, I have to make a 2-point bet. And this week, and we'll talk about some of the other matchups, this week was hard for me to identify what game that is. And I'm almost thinking that we're going to start with game 1 of week 4 here. And I'm going to put the 2-pointer here, thinking that the Bengals are going to be covering this spread as well. I don't know how you feel, Lisa, who's going to win this game, but so far it's 2 for Cincy in the squad.
I'm for the Bengals tonight as well. I agreed with all the points that Adam made. This short week, the Dolphins have had a pretty easy situation. When you look at Buffalo missing so many pieces in the defense last week, the narrative that just laid out for them. We all thought there was a possibility they could win if they were playing the Bills week 1. I think it would have been a totally different story. I also think we're seeing Burrow just a little bit slower coming back from the appendectomy. Though it is a really easy surgery, I've had an appendectomy, so I understand what it's like with, your rib cage and just the agility that he's probably worked through and not being able to get the reps before the season started. This almost feels like what he would have been like in preseason mode or in camp mode if he would have been able to follow through. What an awful time for an appendectomy. Incredibly awful time when he was not prepared, and this just slowed down the season. So I think the Bengals at home tonight take the win, and Miami takes their first loss of the season.
Wow. So you got 3 for the Bengals here. Jay Allen, you're asking me about whether or not in that season-long betting contest, am I just picking winners? No, betting against the spreads. So spreads are involved in this contest as well, which makes it very, very interesting. Adds a little wrinkle to that. So that was one that I was looking at for tonight. That's one of the most comfortable bets that I'd make for my 2-pointer. Ron, I don't know if there's a game before we move on and talk a little bit more about this one. Is there one that stands out based off the spreads that you're seeing that, I mean, nothing's obvious, but that you have confidence if you were putting a 2-pointer on one of these games?
Probably the Bengals. I think the public money's on Miami and the sharp money's on the Bengals. So they would probably be the one. We have a lot of tight spreads this week. a lot of 2s and 3s and 1.5. So there's really nothing that's like obvious here because everything is so close. But I really do like the Bengals a lot tonight.
Some of you are asking about Showdown for DFS. Howard Bender has his piece up on fantasyalarm.com right now to give you all the Showdown help if you want. But Ron, if we are doing Showdown and we kind of want to go and zig instead of the zagging and try to be a little bit different, people are asking about captain spots. Do we try to reinvent the wheel here and not go with someone like a Joe Burrow, let's just say, or go with someone like a Tyler Boyd? Maybe this was someone that we were talking about potentially grabbing off of waivers for this week. How do you feel about him in this matchup for a potential captain spot?
I don't know if I'd use him in a captain. I think there's enough good players here that you're probably not going to, you can go Mixon, you can go Chase, you can go Waddle, you can go Tyreek, you can go Burrow. This is not like another game where there's only going to be 2 choices. So you can go in a variety of directions here. I think Boyd's not a bad play just because the way you want to beat Miami is the middle of the field. Their corners are pretty good. You'll probably have Howard on Chase. So I think Boyd could be a guy that's kind of sneaky here because he has the best matchup in the slot. So, yeah, I think that's fine. And you mentioned Miami giving up the most passing yards, but you have to be careful with that. They faced Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Okay, yeah, and they faced Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, the 2 top MVP candidates.
True. You're right about that. And that is, again, it is early season, so that is something
like the Bengals have allowed the fewest. They've gone against Mitch Trubisky, Cooper Rush, and Joe Flacco. Come on.
Yes. Yeah. Though it's a little deceiving there, but it's still very interesting. And it gives me, should it still roam though? Give me a little bit of hope that Burrow will be able to have success against them.
No, I think he will. I think part of it's the short week. And, again, they came off that was a real emotional win, a division rival. Many people can consider the Super Bowl favorite, and they really got outplayed, 90 plays to 39. That's the other thing to consider. Their defense was on the field in that humidity and heat for 90 plays. And now you got to come back, travel on a short week on the road and go out there against this Bengals offense. Yeah, it's a bad spot for Miami.
Rod and I were talking about this yesterday, Lisa, and I guess I'm just a little bit, when it comes to this, I guess I just don't know what heat can do to the body, because I'm thinking these are the top athletes in the world. They have doctors, they have everything at their disposal, everything from oxygen that they can get. They can go back to the locker room and get IVs. I've always tried to kind of figure out whether or not heat and excessive heat could truly be a justification for these athletes, because they're in shape, they're constantly conditioning, they have resources, whether it's on the field or in the locker room. How do you feel something like heat and that dryness impacts those athletes? Do you think that it does hold up a little bit more and could impact the game?
Yeah, I think it has a huge effect. Why don't we do this, Justin? Why don't we put you out there with 20 pounds of pads in that heat, so that when you start to sweat, which they absorb, and then you carry more weight, so it becomes 25 pounds. You're in shape. You can't tell me you're not. One steak sandwich at a Waffle House isn't going to throw that out. But it does play a big role. It's something that Miami is used to. It's something that Brady looked forward to from getting out of the cold, but then quickly realized the difference of playing in the thickness of that air. Humidity is very different. The sun, the way the sun beats down on you, September is the worst time for an NFL team to have to play in Miami. And it doesn't really matter how conditioned the body is. We see the same thing in Denver with altitude. That doesn't change, right? Altitude still affects players. So it's all these variables of nature that can weigh in the pocket. And that's what gives a team home team advantage. So, it's a common sense factor where Buffalo goes down there, they have to adapt to it. Heat causes inflammation. So heat is actually harder to play in than cold. And players will tell you all the time, like, I'd rather be cold than hot, because when you're hot, you feel slower. Adam knows. He plays in a very prominent softball league that sometimes has to play in the heat. And so, Adam, when it gets to fall, if you guys are still out there, it becomes easier. You could put a long sleeve shirt on if you really wanted to, though you'll see players out there in short sleeve shirts in the cold. So the heat does make a difference, no doubt. And also, let's not forget, whether it was a concussion or a back injury for Tua, there is something that is not going to make him as effective as he was before that moment in that game last weekend. So he's playing against that as well. That's another reason why I think the Bengals have a much better chance. But I don't care how good. When you say, Justin, you say, they have doctors, everything. Well, they're not out there fanning them with cool air, Justin, while they're playing. They're still out there. Have you ever sat at a game when the sun is like facing you? You're just uncomfortable just sitting there. So imagine playing in that. It is definitely different, and it definitely does wreak havoc on players that are not used to it. They're thrilled that they only have to face one September game a season, and that they're really wanting a November game down there in Miami because then it's a lot more comfortable.
Diggs was cramping up all over. He had to take 2 IVs. He said he never felt like that. And then it was not only him, it was a bunch of players there. I mean, it was 90, 95 with humidity. And then it's got to be 100, 105 on the field.
On the field. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And you're running around. And remember the weight of the pads and everything that is keeping your skin from breathing, you from breathing, the helmet, all of it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, I always thought they did have the fans. They maybe had some misters. You're rolling your eyes at me. There you go. Get ready. Hey, Rick Campbell, if you're watching in a safe spot, get ready to get the eyes rolling. Get ready for that when Lisa joins Rick every Wednesday on Better Sports Live, 7 p.m. Eastern. Just getting started. Rome will talk about some props maybe for this game. Some of our better fans asking about them. So we'll take a look at a few, maybe talk about the Dolphins run game as well. This is the Playbook with Fensty, Ronus, and Lisa, and powered by fantasyalarm.com on BSN.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronus, presented by fantasyalarm.com. Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
I got to tell this story, okay? So we're out in Canton, Ohio, and we decide to go eat late at night, like after midnight. We decide to go to the Waffle House. Somehow, Fensty's never been there, even though he lives near it. I'm in New York, New Jersey. There's no Waffle House close by. So if you go to the Waffle House, what are you going to eat more than likely? Pancakes, waffles, eggs, and all that, right? So, of course, our guy Rich, he gets breakfast. I get breakfast. Fensty doesn't. He's never been to a Waffle House. How do you not have waffles? It makes no sense.
Dude, there's a time for waffles.
I eat breakfast at midnight. Come on, man.
That's the thing. I didn't want breakfast, man. I got a cheesesteak sandwich or something like that?
That's like someone who has never been to IHOP going there and ordering a burger. Who does that?
That I wouldn't do. That I would not.
That's the equivalent of what you did. Well, I don't even know what you had.
I got this steak sandwich, which was
steak sandwich at the Waffle House. Never been there, and that's what you get. You're an odd guy, man.
I'm not an odd guy.
Yes, you are. Can we get a vote? Can we get a vote in the chat, please? I mean, if you've never been to Waffle House and you get a steak wrap, something's wrong with you, right? Don't you have to get waffles and eggs and bacon and all that? It's the Waffle House.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It was my first time, okay? Ordering the hash browns was already complicated enough. Smothered and covered, and it's almost like it's crazy how much combinations you can have. And I know that everybody's killing me for it right now. And no, to our producers, I don't get pasta at a steakhouse or anything like that.
No, Alfredo. That's when he gets at the steakhouse.
Do you follow me on Instagram? I'm always on that grill. You know how much I love steak. Why would I go to a steakhouse and get pasta?
Because you go to Waffle House to get steak wraps. That's why.
I didn't know it was all waffles, bro. I thought it had a little bit of everything. That's why. I didn't realize they were famous for the waffles. Hey, look.
The name of the place is the Waffle House. What else would they be famous for?
You know what? That's fine. I guess it's a hot take getting a steak sandwich. As long as it was good, I housed that thing in 10 seconds.
Okay, you were never there, and that's the first time. You're not going to try a waffle? Do you admit it was a mistake?
I don't really like waffles.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Better Sports Network.
And the payoff. There goes the deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. Number 61. He ties Roger Maris for the American League single-season record with 61 home runs. It's a 2-run Judgian blast. Here comes the judge.
getting a chance to tie, Roger Maris, who's not only a Yankee legend, but a baseball legend, is an incredible honor and, a great achievement that, I don't take lightly, that's for sure. And, having the support from, his son here, my family here, means the world to me.
Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network.
Well, one collectible that I don't think anyone will have, at least at this time, the Aaron Judge 61st home run of the season. I believe that the story and the bit behind it is Sarah Walsh, reporter's husband, actually caught it. He's a bullpen coach, caught it, gave it back to the Yankees right there. You heard Aaron Judge reacting to hitting number 61 right there. And when it comes to baseball, Lisa, I feel like your favorite sports are basketball and football. Are you a baseball fan at all?
Well, spending time with Adam Ronus definitely made me a baseball fan. And thanks to Matt Deutsch putting me in a 14-team fantasy baseball league my first time playing. Yes, I did become a fan. I chose the New York Mets after going to quite a few games. And if you remember, Adam, was a great story. I had a Murphy jersey, and I said to you that night when I showed up and met you there, I said, if Murphy hits a bomb, I'm choosing the Mets as my baseball team because I hadn't chose a team yet. But learning about the sport really helps. And I think when people just casually watch baseball and don't understand what's going on, it could seem slow and boring. But I took a lot of time that summer and read up on it, understood the art of the game. But it still is a much longer sport. But yet I can sit and I can watch endless hours of golf. So I don't know, where it's all coming from with me. But I do still like baseball.
Yeah, and I hear you. And here's the thing. Baseball was my third favorite sport. But when it comes to being at the game, I don't feel like there's a sport where you can appreciate the environment and really just let it all sink in. Because at least for me, I'm not one when I go to a basketball game, I'm not just going there and casually watching. I'm intensely watching like I'm the coach. It's our passion. We love sports. I'm actually into the game, so I'm there to watch the game. I barely leave the seat. Hockey, same thing. Football, there's just so much going on that I personally would rather watch it on TV because there's just so much going on that's very hard to see, keep up with, even injuries on the sideline. But when it comes to baseball, there's enough stoppage time where I just feel like I can enjoy the atmosphere. I can enjoy the environment. I can take a look around and not miss anything. And that's why I really, out of all the sports, I really just love being at the baseball games because it really just reminds me why I fell in love with sports. Ron, I don't know if you feel that way about being at baseball games, but the stoppage time does help with that, and it makes you appreciate the sports environment.
No, I love going to Mets games, and they were polling some of the players, and one of the players said playing in Citi Field, it feels like you're playing in a nightclub because, the loud and the music and everything. It's a great atmosphere, and I'm just looking forward to it. Hopefully I get to attend a playoff game in the next few weeks, but really pumped. Love going to Citi Field. So baseball, hockey are great to attend. Basketball too. I do agree. Football's kind of fourth. It's better on TV. There's just, I don't know. I just feel that way. So baseball.
Unless you're like 10 rows up 50-yard line, you miss out on so much, right? So I agree with you, Adam. It's just more comfortable at home and you can be following. Plus, we're so into all of the news to study what's going to happen with the rest of our fantasy matchups as well.
Well, remember, we went to one game. It was like 20 degrees out. Like, I know I had like 4 layers of clothes. It was MetLife in December, 4:15 p.m. game. So it's dark, it's cold, it's freezing. My goodness, man. It's insane how cold it is there.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes down to it, when you're watching these games, and watching is on TV is a very different story. I mean, you love watching football. Baseball, it's a little bit slower on TV. I can't appreciate the environment if I'm not there. Love watching some hoops, though. I just can't wait for that NBA season to start. We're going to get to a little bit of NBA later on. One more question for you, Lisa, because I've never attended a sporting event with Ronus before. What's it like to be with Ronus at a sporting event when he's rooting, that he has a rooting interest in the team? Does he even talk to you at all, or is he just intensely watching the game, only talking about the game?
He talks casually. He's sometimes checking his phone for other games that are going on. So he's still trying to stay really uberly connected. But I will say this. Remember, Ronus, when we wanted to go to Shake Shack? Like, legit, I can order Shake Shack delivery and it can get to me quicker than when you go to the Shake Shack at Citi Field. But, like, you get halfway through that line, you're so committed. And, like, the best plays are happening and you're watching them on this, like, 32-inch television outside of the Shake Shack. That is when Adam is not super happy.
Yeah, that is a long line at the Shake Shack at Citi Field, man. That's why it's probably best to get to the game like an hour early and get on that line before the game starts, because during the game you're gonna miss probably 2, maybe 3 innings. So I hate missing the game. So I like when I'm going and someone's like, "Hey, I'm going to Shake Shack. You want anything?" "Yeah, sure. Give me this." And I can just sit here, watch the game while you wait online for 3 innings.
Lisa, when you're at a game, I mean, do you leave games early ever?
And that is the worst. There is nothing worse. I mean, that has ended every guy that's ever taken me on a date to a game, Justin, and then wants to leave early, especially in the NBA. So much, I get it. We're going to sit traffic regardless, but like this last 6 minutes, you want me to get in the car and listen to it on the radio at this point? Like, no, we're done. Like
why even go to the game then? Like, I understand everyone's situation is different, and maybe someone's coming from Connecticut or Jersey, New York. It's a long drive. It's a weeknight. I kind of understand that. Then why go to the game? Like, why bother? I sit there and I watch these people leave games early. I'm like, are you serious? And again, I understand the travel could be long for some people. Then don't go during the week if you have to work the next day. Go on a weekend or something. But like, why leave early?
You don't leave a movie theater early. You don't watch a movie and then not watch the last 5 minutes of the movie. How is this different? The narrative is explained in the last 5 minutes. You can't leave now. So either plan out the time. Last time I went to a Knicks Nets game, and the Knicks were losing, and I couldn't believe the fourth quarter. It was just starting to like peel out of there, and it was actually easy to leave if you stayed for the full game because everybody else gave up.
That's the one thing I like. I'll be at a Mets game and it'll be the 8th inning and it's a close game and I see hordes of people leaving. I'm like, good. If I parked in the lot that day, I tend to park on the street to avoid that nightmare parking lot. But there are times I'm in the parking lot, and if I am, I'm like, good, leave, man. Get the hell out of here. Make it easier for me when I leave. But I never understand it. I can't leave a game early. If it's 12-1, okay, I can see that. But anything close, like, what's the point? I love being in the ballpark. I love the atmosphere. You could see something that you've never seen before. And we've seen improbable comebacks. So, yeah, and I know where the time I went to, actually, I've been to the 4 main sports release. And we've been to a hockey game, multiple basketball games, baseball, and football, and we never left early. And that's going. And the one time we went to the Cowboys game, I drove. I picked you up from Manhattan and drove, and that's a nightmare to get back. We didn't leave early.
I never understood that, especially close games too. I mean, growing up, it would be around like 9:20 when I'd be going to the Knicks game, and my dad would give me that look like it's almost that time. But it's like at that point, what's the difference with the 9:48 train on the Long Island Railroad back to Long Island or the 10:25? Let's just stay. I always used to have to argue and beg to stay. Let's go. I don't like to leave games early. The only times I really have left games early is if, for instance, the Knicks are down by 32 at halftime, which one year against the Sixers, it was opening night. They were down 30 the entire game, and we just couldn't take it anymore. There was no hope whatsoever. Maybe there are a few, but for the most part, guys, I don't like leaving games early. I just feel incomplete. You're right. It's like reading a book and then you just rip the ending, the final 3 chapters out and throw them away. Who cares? I care. And clearly, you guys
Lisa will appreciate this story. I don't know if I ever told you this one, but I think it was 98 Mets opening day. They were playing the Phillies. It was 88 degrees. And I took this girl with me that I really liked. And she had on shorts, like a top with arms exposed, like it was a summer day. So we go to the game. And as you know, it got colder as the game went along. So like the 7th inning, I'm cold. Can we leave? Nah, we can't. It was scoreless. 8th inning, can we leave? Nah, just one more inning. 9th inning, can we leave? One more inning. 10th inning, 11th inning, the 12th inning, I finally said, all right, she's really cold. We can leave. It was scoreless. And then I dropped her home and I'm in my car listening to the Mets win 1-0 in 14 innings.
Wow. That's incredible right there, Ron. And yeah, you probably didn't go on a second date with that girl, I'm guessing, right?
Well, we went to college together, so yeah, but yeah, I mean, we didn't be in a relationship. Let's put it that way.
I must raise my hand because I am unaware at how far we are in the challenge. I recall this may have started, Justin, a year or two ago. There was an under-over on when Adam's getting married. This was quite a topic on social media yesterday. We were talking about what we were going to talk about. So where are we in this? I know I had taken the over. I think, Justin, you took the under. Was it 3 or 5 years? And when did this start? Did we timestamp this? Do we have this on recording somewhere?
We may. I believe it started in early 2020, and yes, so it was. It was about 6 months after Ronus and I started working together, and I believe in Ronus because I happen to think he's a nice guy. Despite
that's not the point of this.
That's
that
not
is
the
not.
point. That's nothing to do with it.
Well, I thought that he's a good bachelor and that he's a 1 seed and that he's going to find someone. And as you get older, things move quicker. I have a friend. I'm 35.
But as the 1 seed, he's also very desired to be traded on the regular. I mean, as the 1 seed, many teams he sought after, Justin.
Well, no.
See, this is why Lisa Ann and I click so well. She understands. She gets it. Okay.
No,
she gets it.
Actually, I'd like to raise a point, Lisa. You're on the right track, but I don't think trading is the right word. I think he wanted to be bought out of a lot of those relationships. So,
well, yeah,
I mean,
there's definitely better offers out there at times. Players do it all the time. We don't hold it against players. We don't say anything. We don't judge them. We're not forcing them into a situation. Get your money. You know what I mean? This is a similar situation.
I wish there was a way I can cash out and retain back some of what I'm about to lose in this bet, Lisa, because at this point, it could be a year and a half left. It could be 3.5 years left. I'm ready to wave the flag and admit defeat.
We're teaching people here how to be successful bettors, right? That's part of what we do here. Justin was absolutely foolish for making this. Lisa Ann worked with me since 2013, knowed me extremely well. I know you knew me too, but obviously she knew me better. And you were going to make this bet with her? That was just an idiotic bet. You just took your money and lit it on fire.
I mean, I gathered the data just like we do on players. I looked at the history, all the scouting reports. I looked at everything and also, and I came up with a conclusion that made me, make the right decision. Justin, you have a different mindset. You're thinking one way. I'm thinking completely another.
Yeah, she took all the data. Again, she has seen my situation. She's been there. She's seen the ups, the downs, the situations I've been. You really just got, man. She was a sports book who just took your money.
Well,
you got.
After I started working with you, I started thinking, wow, how is this guy single? And then about another 5 months went by, and I'm like, okay, now I see why he's single again. As I gotten to know him,
he's a free agent for a reason. This was a bad beat on your part, Justin. Something we don't want our listeners to fall into, but just a bad beat.
I still have a year and a half for this thing to happen. Okay, I still have a year and a half for this guy to get swept off his feet. And before you know it, I get that call. Hey, Fedsty, I'm off the show. I'm going to Vegas. Lisa Ann's actually going to fill in, and I'm going to go get married quickly in Vegas. So
if he was going to get married quickly, he would never do it within that 1.5 year span. He's also spiteful and stubborn. So just so you know, he would tell the woman that he fell in love with that wants to marry, by the way, want to marry you. But there's this bet out there on the street. And I got to make sure it doesn't pay off. Okay?
So it expires June 22nd. So could we push this to June 30th just so, Lisa Ann can cash?
Listen, that's the thing, Lisa. You're so right about this because if there was a way I can win at something, Ronus would definitely make sure that I didn't win. Ronus doesn't I don't know if you face this too with working with Ronus, Lisa, but he doesn't like it when I win. I kind of am more of hey, we're a team. When you win at something, when you make a good call, that's like a win for the team. For him, it's not like that. It's like I'm the enemy and I'm just all competition. And if I make a good call or I get something right, he did recently. This week, he gave me some props on something I talked about last week. But for the most part, he doesn't do that, Lisa. I don't know if he was always rooting for you to lose as well, but he roots for me to lose pretty actively.
Okay, but we're not on the same team. We're just betting as individuals. This isn't like he's not on your team, but he's competitive.
Oh, no, I'm talking in general when he was your co-host and everything. I mean, did you have contests against each other? Where
we did. He's extremely competitive, 100%. He doesn't want me to win when I'm playing up against him. It's not a friendly gesture. I'm less competitive in the sense that, like, you know, if it's a friend, I'm like, oh, you know, it doesn't, you know, but that's just who he is. He is competitive through and through. It's not about you, Justin. Don't take it personally. It's not like you're playing on the same team. If you guys are up and you're challenging each other and one of you has a difference of opinion, you first of all, you should assume that he's right, which is something I learned early on, that I would take his lead. Okay. And if you assume that he's right and you do not try to fight against it with bad ideas that you think you could make come to fruition, he's pretty good at what he does.
I will listen to Lisa Ann for life advice and other things. She's very good at that. So I would lean on her for that. I try not to bother her much, so she knows if I do call her, then it's pretty significant.
No, she doesn't. What? You don't bother her at all because you don't bother me. You come to me for life advice.
He said bother. Wow.
No,
I don't come to you for life advice.
I didn't say bother.
You did say he said bother, right? And then he took it back. So the truth came out. Wow. I won't call you no more then. I'm not going to call you. I'm going to delete your number on my phone right now. I'm going to take you out.
Let's see. Last night, Lisa, I was on the phone with Ronus for 45 minutes. Let's look at the night.
Okay.
Was it about sports or was it personal? And why was I not running? Why was this out of the freeway?
Even Al said you said bother. Unbelievable. The truth came out, man. Unbelievable. So we got it. We have audio. We got video.
I corrected myself.
Yeah, but the truth.
I corrected myself. Okay. Fine. The truth is, Ron, if I thought it was a bothering kind of call, you think I would just take the call every single time?
Well, you didn't pick up the day before, so maybe that was a day I was bothering you. Okay, cool. I got it.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know what, Ron? This isn't
now I hope you lose everything this week. Everything.
That's every week. What's the difference between this week? How's this week different than all other weeks?
So, Lisa Ann, this guy like begged me to be in the SiriusXM host fantasy football. Like, I didn't really want to beat it. And then because he won last year, the JV league, because I wasn't in it. So I get in it. And what happened? I played him last week and dusted him, like beat him bad. And he's now 0-3. So sometimes you get what you wish for, and it's been bad for him.
Yeah, you brought a real competitor into a league that was soft, you know, and it is fun to be in a couple JV leagues because you know your matchups, you know you can win. And now, first of all, you threw off the entire league by allowing him to draft because he went out there with his strategy and took players that if one of those players was on each one of your teams, you'd all be better. But instead, you're sitting there, Justin, 0-3.
Why do I feel like I'm in a handicap match right now where I'm battling both of you? Okay?
What did you expect? You know, where our synergy, our chemistry, we're like united, man. Come on, you know.
But what about our chemistry? We're not united.
Well, it's disrupted today, and it's not as strong. It's not as strong as someone that I've been working with since 2013.
Oh, she's Lisa Ann. He's Adam Ronus. I'm the third wheel Justin Fensterman on this broadcast here. It is the playbook with Lisa Ann, Ronus, and then Fed Steve, 50,000 miles away. We are powered by fantasyalarm.com. Let's get to our weekly fantasy football hash out. Hash browns, invisible carbs for Lisa. For me, all of the carbs. Let's talk about how the hash browns are getting prepared many different ways at that Waffle House. Not sponsored, of course. We could say Awful House, as Lisa coined it earlier. Let's talk some fantasy football with all of you here on the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network.
Stay tuned for sports.
Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronus, presented by fantasyalarm.com.
The only person, I've said this to you before, who I believe back then, of all those power hitters who truly was clean, Ken Griffey Jr.
I mean, I think so when he got hurt. We'll never know that for sure either.
No, dude.
We've seen guys who were not big take substances.
That's true.
Get busted. So it's not about that always.
I hear you. It's just, don't you think with the way his career kind of went, you would think that he didn't take anything?
I don't think he did, but we'll never know 100%.
I'm going to keep telling myself that he didn't. The 1 year, I mean, he's my favorite baseball player of all time. In the 1990s, Ron, as a kid, as a 5-year-old kid who plays video games and collected cards, there was no one cooler than Ken Griffey Jr. I still wear my hat backwards because Ken Griffey Jr. did it, and he looked really cool doing that, wearing a backwards baseball cap. Like, he made everything the guy did looked cool. Even the home run in the movie Little Big League, it's acting, it's all, I guess, fake, but even he made that look cool. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., you're a little bit older than me, but in the 90s, was there besides Michael Jordan, was there a more loved athlete than Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yeah, no, I love Griffey. He's one of my favorite players ever, from defensively to hitting his swing. And yeah, I would have loved to see what he could have done if he had stayed healthy, the final numbers he'd finished with. So no, I was a huge fan of Ken Griffey, and it's a shame though that all those injuries towards the end of his career just really limited the production he could put up, but he still put up elite numbers. He was so fun to watch. So I'm a huge Ken Griffey guy.
And here's the other thing too. So 1994, the season got shortened because of the strike.
And he finished with 40 homers in 111 games that year, man. And then he had 56 2 years in a row, 97 and 98, and then 48. He had a stretch 4 years in a row, 49, 56, 56, 48, 40. I mean, unbelievable. And then, yeah, once he hit like 31, he started to miss games, 111, 70, 53, 83. So think about that. All those years that he lost, and he still hit 630 home runs, man. Yeah. So if he was clean, he would have been the all-time home run champion. Again, we're all guessing here, but you would think, all right, well, once he got into age 31, 32, that's when the body started breaking out, which is typical, right, for someone who's not using anything, whereas we saw Barry Bonds just get better with age, and we did not see that with Griffey. So look at 2001, where he's 31, he played on, look at the home runs decline, 8, 13, 20, 35, 27, 30, 18, 15 to his age 38 season. Even age 39 in 170 games, he had 19 home runs. So he probably would have definitely been the all-time home run leader had he been able to stay healthy.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
Stop it where you see the big yellow sign. You like service and good food where you dine. You'll always know just down the road. Food best at the Waffle House.
Smothered, covered, diced. It's time for the Playbook's weekly fantasy football hash out.
Order up.
The Playbook with Betsy, Ronus, and Lisa Ann joining us. Lisa Ann is here, and she is going to be heard on Better Sports Network every single Wednesday with Rick Kamla at 7 p.m. Eastern. Better Sports Live. Coming up right after us is Better Sports Live with Corey Parson and Jen Piacenti. That is coming up from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. It is our weekly hash out here. We talk about the different ways that Waffle House hash browns can be prepared with a little bit of a fantasy football spin. So we'll all give our different hash brown preparations here as we go through most of the options there. There are a lot of options right there. It almost took me longer to order the hash browns than actually eat the food at Waffle House, because I didn't realize that there were just so many options there. So what we'll do, because this is the second time we've done this, I'll explain as we go through each one what exactly the preparation is for hash browns and how we're spinning it from a fantasy standpoint. Then we'll each give our take regarding what's going to happen from a wagering standpoint and DFS. So the first, for those that don't really like anything fancy, you can have your hash browns scattered at Waffle House. Pretty much nothing on them, just plain. You want your hash browns with no fixins or anything, you're going scattered right there. So with that, what offense we continue to think will spread the ball around, making it harder to trust from a fantasy standpoint some of these receivers on them. Ron, let's start with you for this one here. What team do you think will continue to spread the ball around, and it'll be hard to identify, or at least harder to identify, which receivers have the highest ceilings?
The Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes said it before the year. Sorry to fantasy people, but going to spread the ball around. And then it doesn't help that they have a really difficult matchup this week going up on the road in Tampa against the Buccaneers, who, while they have had a lot of difficulty putting up points this year, their defense has been really stout. Even last week in the loss, Green Bay only scored 14 points. So when you consider the matchup and the ability for Mahomes to kind of distribute the ball around, I think it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs, Lisa, they have been just so annoying. And this is a team where I don't know how you felt, but I at least felt that I needed to get a little exposure to a couple of receivers on the team. Travis Kelce's Travis Kelce. You're going to have to pay a hefty price during draft season for him, obviously. But then you have other players like Juju. You had even Sky Moore, the rookie, that was gaining some hype. You also had others like Mecole Hardman, Marquez Valdez-Scantling in there too. I don't know how you handled this situation, but I tried to get a couple in there to get an investment in Patrick Mahomes, and it's been nothing but annoying and a waste of a bench spot thus far. How did you handle it?
I tried to get Patrick Mahomes. I figured I would just go to the source, right? I do have a couple shares of Mecole Hardman. I have no interest in MVS. But Adam, great minds think alike, because I put two options up here because I knew if you went before me, you were going to choose the Kansas City Chiefs, which is exactly who I went to with my scattered. My second option there would be the Green Bay Packers.
Yep. I mean, with them, we're starting to see whether or not, they had Sammy Watkins in. He had a nice game or a decent game from a fantasy standpoint, wanted more receptions, but then he gets hurt. Romeo Doubs, all of a sudden, someone that was gaining a lot of attention and a lot of air in draft season, not only having a good game, but starting to get really good reviews as well from the coaching staff. And is this someone that can break away and be the number one wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers over Allen Lazard, who was going at a still good value, Ron? At the end of the day, when it came to Allen Lazard, the earliest that you were seeing him go by the beginning of September in drafts, what, 8th round? Did he go in the 7th anywhere that you saw?
Lazard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him go mostly 7th, 8th, sometimes in the 6th, but mostly 7th, 8th round for him. Maybe in more casual leagues a little bit later, but generally 7th, 8th round is where he went. I think people were expecting him to lead this team in touchdowns at the receiver position, and he does have 2 touchdowns in 2 games because he missed week 1. But we're starting to see Dobbs really emerge.
Yeah, absolutely. The team that I actually brought up here, the Chiefs and the Packers, definitely annoying, but the Panthers as well, because Baker Mayfield stinks. And
I think they're disqualified from this because they don't even throw.
That's touche there.
They don't have a good offense, so do they really qualify? Like, no one's getting the ball. It's not even being spread.
Dude, I was looking at those targets before, and it's weird that it's just as close as it is. And you had DJ Moore thus far with 18. That's it. 6 for 6 targets this guy's gonna get. That definitely not meeting draft value right now, but I don't even know even this matchup where it should be a better matchup for them. I don't know if I can really fully expect DJ Moore to have that ceiling type of game if Baker's not going to throw it to him.
He has 7 receptions for 88 yards in 3 games. This is a guy that's had at least 1,100 yards 3 straight years. And the problem with this matchup is Arizona blitzes a lot. Baker Mayfield is going to be so flustered in this game, not be able to set his feet. So, yeah, it looks like it should be one where he can produce. And then you have Christian McCaffrey, who didn't practice today with this thigh injury. It sounds like they said he's going to play, but this team is just brutal with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. He looks lost.
Yeah, that's because he is. Let's be real here. By the way, our boss, Matt Deutsch, in the comments section saying that he likes his hash browns smothered, covered, and drunk. That's interesting one right there here. So I don't know, Rona. I'm trying to remember back to our Waffle House trip. Was drunk an option for a hash brown preparation?
No, but Matt will find a way to do that if he's out, as we've seen in the past.
Did you actually even get to enjoy hash browns with your weird order, Justin, at the Waffle House?
I did actually. I did. I ordered my hash brown smothered and covered as well. That's the way I went. But the problem with me, Lisa, I eat very quickly, like lightning Joey Chestnut type of speed. And
you're afraid somebody's going to take your food? Is that what you promise?
You know what? That's how I'm always am with my food too. I'm very kind of territorial. I don't like to really share too much. I'm not into that. So for me, Ronus and our friend Rich, who was driving us there to Waffle House, they were just talking in a huge, deep conversation about conspiracies. And I'm actually sitting there eating the food, Lisa, and I finished my meal instantly. Ronus has a piece of waffle on his fork. It must have stayed on his fork on the side of his plate. So I kept watching because I wanted to get back and see everybody at the hotel. And he just let it sit there for 25 minutes. I don't know if you've been out with Ronus, but does he talk a lot and not eat, Lisa?
By the way, we got a comment here that says Fensty eats like he's in prison.
yes, I do. And I hope.
Oh, here comes Bubba.
That's right. That's right. It's the truth. It is the truth. I am a very, very fast.
I appreciate good conversation. So we were having a good conversation. So I was into it.
Yes. It was.
I mean, Adam will finish everything. He will eat everything on his plate. And if you don't finish, he will help you finish it as well. But he's not in a hurry to eat it. He does like to be social. And he was enjoying the environment of the Awful House.
Ronus, is that true? Like if you saw me left with half my meal, you would ask if you can have some of it?
If I was, not a steak sandwich at Waffle House, I'd be like,
he would never do that. He would
give it to the animals outside.
Steak sandwich at Del Frisco's, though. You'd think you're going to leave that on your
Del
table.
Was good. We went there. That lobster mac and cheese, that was
so
great.
Good.
Yeah.
So Adam and I have had so many great meals together.
Yes.
But we need to get back on that schedule.
I know.
When Adam and I did our Monday night show, Lisa and does fantasy for years, we ate dinner together every Monday night, Justin. We sat at this bar. They let an Italian restaurant. We sat right at the bar. They let us have the TVs going. And it was cool because sometimes there'd be multiple sports going. We'd have multiple TVs going. And then we would go up at the half of the Monday night game.
Halftime, we'd
finish
go
our
up.
meal, and then we'd go up into the studios. It was our tradition.
Get our coffee
Nice.
and get ready for the show.
Yep.
Sounds like you both did a lot of show prep there before the show.
That's what we were doing.
That was when Adam trained me.
Yes, we
It
were
was.
doing
I would
show
bring
prep.
my
That's
notes
why we met
printed
for
out.
dinner.
Yep.
Nice.
And that's how Adam made me a good radio host.
Adam's pretty good radio host. Adam's a very good.
No, she had the
He's
work
very
ethic
great
and
at it.
desire to do it. You can't. You can't teach work ethic. People either have it or they don't. Trust me, you guys have worked with people. Some people have terrible work ethics. But the one thing that I respected about her, she had a very busy schedule at that time. She was traveling and doing a lot of work. There wasn't a lot of time, and she said, "Yeah, we'll meet for dinner. We'll go over stuff." So her desire to have success as a radio host is on her. You can help someone out, but if they don't have the work ethic and desire to do it, you can't really do anything. So she showed the ability to put in the time and work. And, I appreciate work ethic. That's one thing that I love. And I don't like people who don't work hard, because work ethic doesn't take effort. It's desire. You don't have to be the most talented person in the world. Look at Fensty, right? He's not, but he works hard. Just kidding. That was an easy jab. But one of the reasons
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it.
Adam, that was so smooth. You've got really smooth, but you guys dig at each other a lot. I really do enjoy
that's
that.
part of what we do, man, and I do it with everyone. But that's part of the reason why Kobe Bryant is like one of my most favorite athletes ever, is his work ethic, man. I love it. Reading his book and seeing it, I love that. Anyone who puts in hard work, I'm a fan of. And, Lisa Ann works very hard. And there are people, look, she could have came in here, "Oh, I'm Lisa Ann. I don't care who you are. I'm going to do my thing." And we know there are some people who have done that in this business, living off their name and just show up. And she didn't do that. So, I respect that a lot.
No, I produced a few shows for Lisa way back when, and then I actually got to host one show with Lisa on Sirius XM. It was a Thanksgiving show. And it's Thanksgiving. It's still very important in our world, but with fantasy, but it's Thanksgiving, it's a lot of people when they host on holidays, unless it's someone like me used to buy one shot a year and it would be worth everything in the world. But a lot of people put their feet up. And I just remember Lisa and I getting on the phone and just talking out a huge 3 hour. It was almost like we were writing a play, and just the ideas just kept coming up more and more. And I never got to produce Lisa Ann Does Fantasy. So it was just great getting to talk with you, Lisa. And that was a big thing. Like that show, that show meant a lot to me. I could tell that show and all the shows that you're on just means so much to you, because it's your brand, and you don't want anything less than 110%. And I know that I don't accept anything less of myself. And you're definitely part of that as well, Lisa, because just that Thanksgiving show, that was an awesome show. We got so much involvement. We had a lot of guests. We had a lot of fun segments. And Lisa, you're just a hard as hell worker, and there's nothing that's ever stopped you from working as hard as you have.
No, I'm very fortunate to do something I love, right? We all are. And also, like, I must love it if I'm willing to work Thanksgiving when our Dallas Cowboys game play. And I know, Adam, this has happened to you growing up. Like, the games that we would lose, it would really ruin your Thanksgiving. And, we would get in trouble by our parents because we'd be moody for the rest of the day. My brother and I would be sulking. My brother was way worse than me. He would want to eat in his room. I would at least still try and be social, but like, that was an emotional roller coaster, that Thanksgiving game, for many seasons.
Oh, for sure. I remember being at someone's house on Thanksgiving, and like right before the game was coming on, they said, you got to shut off the TV. I'm like, what? I'm like, come on, man. So, we got to sit at the table and pray. I'm like, oh, what is this garbage, man? Come on, man.
Yeah, you should have disclosed that information way before you invited me, because like I would have stayed home.
Exactly.
Right? People don't get it that are not in our industry. They just don't understand that we're not ducking people to watch sports. We're watching sports because it's our job. We love sports, but it's our job. I don't want to sit there and just box score surf. I want to watch some tape. I want to learn something. And just nobody understands. It's not just a football game. It's our work. It's our lives. It's why we're all here on BSN. It's because we want to watch these games. We want to watch every little bit and be able to talk about it and be accurate with what we're talking about. You mentioned the Cowboys, by the way, for our smothered, which for this, when it comes to Waffle House, this was one of the ways I got it prepped, sauteed with onions. That's smothered right there. So with that, who is one player, DFS, or team for betting that you can see most of the money on, or just a DFS player that everyone's going to be gravitating towards in week number 4? For me, I'm thinking that a lot of people are going to be going after the Cowboys after what we saw the Commanders didn't do against the Eagles. Now they play the Cowboys, who have a very impressive as hell defense. And I'm thinking a lot of the money, including mine in my betting contest, I'm going to be on the Cowboys, and I'm very, very confident in them. So I think a lot of others will be. So my smothered team is going to be the Cowboys. What do you think, Lisa?
My smothered team is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the narrative of Tampa making it through this storm and be able to play at Raymond James Stadium is amazing. Also, my DFS player, my individual player that I think will be smothered is Mike Evans, coming back from a suspension that none of us really thought should have been a one-sided suspension. Did he deserve it? Did he not? Brady being so kind of having so little choices with healthy receivers. I think we're going to see a lot of action for Mike Evans. I think people are going to be really happy to have him back. And I think the narrative for the Tampa Bay Bucs is really great. I'm just not buying in right now. Kansas City's lack of consistency is very concerning. And I think Tom Brady wants to play hard for Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. Ronus, what are you going with for your smothered team or player?
Jamal Williams. I think we expect DeAndre Swift not to play. Didn't practice again today. And Williams has already been involved in the offense. We saw last week he had 22 touches. Swift was in and out of that game. And it's a great matchup here against Seattle. They've allowed the second most rushing yards per game this season and the third most fantasy points to running backs. And he's 7,400 on FanDuel, 6,100 on DK. So I think Jamal Williams will be a very popular play this week.
Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Ronus, but we're going to be on the same page when it comes to that, because Jamal Williams is actually my covered player here, because when it comes down to who is one team or that will cover their spread or a DFS player that will hit their value, we're on the same page here, Ron, when it comes to Jamal Williams in this awesome matchup against Seattle. I talked about this with you a couple of days ago. Now I want to ask you again what you think. Any way you think that Jamal Williams can also catch a few passes here, because Seattle, when it comes to what they give up when the receptions to running backs, I mean, this is a good spot for Williams. I'm just hoping that maybe they give him about 5 to 6 targets, catches 3 to 4 passes against Seattle. That's the team to do it against.
Yeah, I definitely think he can for sure. I mean, he's going to get a pretty good workload. Maybe you'll see Craig Reynolds in the mix, but yeah, this is going to be a good week for Jamal Williams. And the one thing is, you got to watch that injury report. Detroit had a lot of injuries. Amon-Ra St. Brown did not practice today. DJ Chark did not practice today. We did see Josh Reynolds return to practice, but that's something to keep in mind here, because that line has moved. It opened, I think, 6.5 with Detroit favored, and I liked Seattle getting the points at that number. But now it's Detroit. The line has moved down. Detroit's favored by 4. Total's 48. I think this could be a very high-scoring game.
Who is your covered? Because the covered is for those that want their hash browns covered at Waffle House. Covered with melted American cheese. That is what's covered. So I got my hash browns smothered and covered, onions and cheese on it. Kind of like a cheesesteak in a way. But Roan, who's your covered team or player?
I'm going to go with the Colts here, man. The Titans suck, okay? Like, because they beat the Raiders last week, the Raiders went 1 for 12 on third down. Darren Waller, ball went off his hands for an interception inside the 5. This Titans team isn't any good. Now, I know the Colts are not great either, but defensively, they're really good, and they're good against the run. And the Titans run the ball 47% of the time. In order for them to have success, they need to run the football. I don't think they're going to be able to have success on the ground. Plus, you could see the potential return of Shaq Leonard here. And I know Matt Ryan's not great, but they got the win last week. The Colts have allowed 4.8 yards per carry, 4.8 yards per play, 2.8 yards per carry. And Derrick Henry's only at 3.6. He even last week, 20 for 85. That's not great. And the Titans have allowed 6.1 yards per carry to running backs this year and have allowed the 5th most rushing yards to the position. So I think you're going to see a big Jonathan Taylor week. We haven't really seen it yet. Same thing happened to him last year. He started slowly, and then he had the big finish. So I think you see Taylor get rolling. He missed his first practice yesterday, but he put in a full practice today, so no concern there. The Titans' defense is terrible. So it's amazing, like, all of a sudden we think the Titans are like competitive now because they beat the Raiders at home last week. I think they're a bad team. And I know the Colts have flaws too, but I think the Colts win this game and cover.
What about your covered team or player, Lisa? Who are you going with?
Man, it breaks my heart to say how good the Philadelphia Eagles are. It's hard as a Dallas Cowboys fan to look at it, but I'm looking at the Eagles all the way. Now, look, it is an easier matchup as we look at Jacksonville of years in the past, but Jacksonville's having a better season. And we're seeing better things, but man, that Devontae Smith catch. I mean, did both of you get chills when you saw that catch and wonder how he threaded the needle to get it to him and he brought that in? Like, they're playing so well. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Better than the Odell Beckham Jr. catch from years ago?
Man, well, of course, because that was against the Dallas Cowboys. You realize that, right? It's like, although it was great for Odell, it was not great for us. I was actually at that game. Adam, I was at that game with Rochelle Ryan during that catch. But yeah, because Odell was a bit more open for that one-handed catch. Devontae Smith was double covered. And I just didn't really, the confidence there to believe in your receiver that he could pull that down and not be picked was amazing. And so the Eagles are doing big things, and I think they're going to cover easily this week.
Yeah, we were talking about how they could very well be the contenders of the NFC. And I know we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. They've got the defense. Jalen Hurts at this point, when it comes to A.J. Brown having more weapons, it's a young season, but still the accuracy has been improved a little bit through the 3 games. So hopefully it continues here as we go into week number 4. Let's continue our weekly hash out here on the playbook, because up next, after covered, we're going to go to chunked, which is for those that are getting their hash browns chunked at Waffle House. Chunks of grilled hickory smoked ham you could put into your hash browns. So for us, what do we do there? We do a team or even a player that we're going to double down on, making them chunked, thinking that they're going to be a lock to win, whether it's a bet or whether that player is going to give a high amount of production. And I know that we're still waiting on some of the injuries when it comes to the Saints, though. But if Jameis Winston is in, and maybe even if he's not as well in the London game, Chris Olave has been getting targeted a lot. Michael Thomas is a bit banged up. Jarvis Landry was back at practice, but he was a little bit banged up as well. It seems like everybody else is too. We mentioned Winston. Kamara was dealing with the ribs. So I'm thinking a player that I'm doubling down on, especially because Minnesota's been bottom 8 when it comes to allowing receptions and yards this season. I'm going to go with Chris Olave as my chunked player, Roan. We talked about how impressive Olave has been thus far with the receivers healthy. Now, not so much.
Yeah, we did see Jarvis Landry practice today. Michael Thomas did not. So that could open things up. For me, I'm going Mark Andrews. I love the Baltimore-Buffalo game to be a shootout. I know people thought that Buffalo-Miami would be a shootout last week, but it didn't happen. I think this game it does. We know Baltimore has major issues defensively. They've been giving up a lot of points. Buffalo might have some defensive players back, but this Baltimore Ravens offense is playing at a ridiculous level right now. Good for Lamar Jackson. Hope he gets his money. Mark Andrews is his go-to guy, and he's just getting a 36.5% target share right now. He's got 12 catches this year of 10 or more yards. So look for Mark Andrews to continue to dominate because this is going to be a very high-scoring game and probably the game that I look forward to most this week.
Lisa, the tight end position has just been brutal this year. You got your few that are producing, and then it's just been a whole lot of randomness here and underperforming on your teams, and you have many teams. What tight end, unless you completely spread it around in the position, what tight end are you most invested in your leagues this year?
Probably Mark Andrews, which has been, really great for me. And then from there, I thought higher of Dawson Knox than the production we've gotten. I thought, Robert Tonyan would be seeing more action and be more consistent, being that Aaron Rodgers has such limited options. I didn't go high and get myself a Travis Kelce. I didn't go high and get myself a George Kittle. I've got some Goddard shares. I've got some Waller shares. I really spread it around, but Andrews is just a difference maker. But it's always this is what we do at the tight end, right? If you don't go with those top 3 to 5, which I just don't love taking a tight end that early. And look, even Travis Kelce dropping a ball, even Darren Waller dropping a ball. So if you did go and you didn't get that production, you kind of wasted a roster spot if you ask me. But as my player that I'm putting in this spot, this is going to be a big week if you ask me. And I'm glad that this week was not last week, because this is a player that Adam Ronus has in the league that we matched up in head-to-head last week, and that is Davante Adams. I have no hope right now for the defense for Denver going up against Las Vegas, and I think Davante Adams has a big week this week.
Davante Adams, Lisa Ann's chunked player here, doubling down on Davante Adams there, which moves us to our next preparation. And this is one that I find very interesting as a preparation, and it's called diced. It's grilled tomatoes can be mixed into your hash browns as well. So, Lisa, the veggies there, we can make things a little bit healthier.
Those are not real veggies at the Waffle House, man. They come in like weird packages. Like if you go in the back, nothing even needs to be cooled. It's all in like weird packages. Kind of like, remember that night, Adam, you and I rolled up when they were getting this stuff out for that burrito place. So what's it called that everybody really likes in this city? Everybody likes this place. It's very popular right now. Fancy burritos and bowls. This is
Chipotle?
Yes. So do you ever think that Chipotle comes in a box?
Fensty's favorite place.
Isn't even in refrigerated trucks. And so I remember they were unloading all this stuff, and I was interviewing the guys that were bringing these boxes out. This is after midnight. We leave our show, and they were like, "Yeah, no, this is all prepackaged food." I'm like, "So you're telling me that meat doesn't need to be refrigerated? Well, it's cooked somewhere else, and then it's treated with something, then it's brought in here." I just didn't feel good about that. Like, it made a lot of sense what they covered on South Park. So no, that is not real tomatoes in there. But I understand what you're going with here for trying to make it look better. I still wouldn't have gotten a steak sandwich though, Fensky.
Well, I'm stuck that you don't think that Chipotle goes to the local farmers markets and gets all their product and produce from there. I'm shocked that you think that we're getting the Taco Bell treatment here, Lisa.
I do think so, for a little bit more money than the Taco Bell. You might just be better going back and saving the funds, because Taco Bell is like, what, an eighth of the price of Chipotle.
You talk about gas being expensive. Guacamole's like $3.50 now. When Chipotle first started in like 2004, guac wasn't even $1 extra. Now it's at least $3.50. And the worst part about it, and then we'll move on here. The worst part about it is they don't always chop up the avocado good. So you can get a cup of guac, but it's got this big chunk of avocado in it where it's hard to break apart. You take it out and you only have about 15% of the guacamole left. Cheap. I don't like that. It gets me very, very
Yelp
upset.
review this, Justin? Do you let anybody know how you feel about this? I think it's important. This is what the internet is for, to express yourself. You should photograph that. Shoot a little video. Maybe they would do better quality control for the consistency of the guacamole.
Yes, we're going to make guacamole better at Chipotle. I like that. See, again, Rick Kamla, Lisa Ann on Better Sports Live on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Positive vibes only. That's what you're going to get there. Even if you're losing your bets, you'll still feel good, because a lot of energy, a lot of fun from both Cam and Lisa as well. Let's get to our diced, though, when it comes to the preparation. Grilled tomatoes you might want on your hash browns. Not real tomatoes, though, according to Lisa here. So who is one lesser-known player or even an underdog bet that you would roll the dice on, Lisa?
This is going to be the sketchy week that I go with Robert Tonyan. And I put him down here today, even though I don't feel great about it. I just want to believe. Is that what we do week 4? We hold on to these players that we drafted late that we really thought were going to be secret sleepers for us, but haven't produced the way they were supposed to. What is happening? Aaron Rodgers. I listen to him every Tuesday on McAfee, and I just wanted to talk about Tonyan. Last year, he used to call him Bobby. Get that Bobby thing going and get some action to Tonyan this week.
To get it to Robert Tonyan, Ron, we talked about Robert Tonyan a few times. Hopefully he can be utilized there for dice. Rolling the dice is Lisa Ann on Robert Tonyan. Let's go to you, Ron. Who's your dice teamer player?
The Cardinals. I think they win. Their dogs on the road against the Panthers. I mean, the Panthers were kind of fortunate to win last week, and I did like them last week, but it's just a bad football team right now. Arizona has their flaws as well, but this is a matchup they can take advantage of. We would like to see Kyler Murray run more. He's barely not running. They could potentially get Rondale Moore back this week. We know A.J. Green is doubtful, but the Panthers are just abysmal right now. Could be without McCaffrey. So give me the Cardinals as the underdog team this week.
The Cardinals were one of a couple of teams on my list for this as well. The other
that's
team,
too bad.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Ron. You're going to lose your bet now on that.
Yeah, now I'm worried.
Yeah, exactly. But others, that New Orleans too. That's a team again more against the Vikings there, and Baltimore, even, but with what you were talking about with Baltimore, with how great their offense has been, potentially them as the underdogs too. I'm looking at that. So that's where I'm rolling the dice on there. Arizona, New Orleans, and Baltimore. Let's move on to Peppered. That's the next preparation for the weekly hash out with a fantasy football spin. So you could actually get your hash browns prepared with jalapenos in them for a little bit of spice. So with that, for Peppered, a running back, receiver, or even tight end drafted outside of the first 5 rounds, generally in 12-team leagues, do we think are going to be peppered with targets? Let me give one that I think is more of a low-hanging fruit answer, but I'm loving this Eagles-Jaguars matchup. I think the Eagles offense will still find success. Devontae Smith has been that guy. Now, the Jaguars have been susceptible when it comes to giving up a lot of tight ends to wide receivers a little bit early, but still, A.J. Brown's going to be the primary focus of this offense. Thinking Devontae Smith going to be seeing a little bit less of that tight coverage. Thinking he could even do it on a deep play as well. So I'm going to continue to roll with Devontae Smith. I've loved, and I haven't checked yet, maybe for Prop Wars tomorrow, I've loved his yardage props. It's helped us both out, Roan, in Prop Wars. Definitely me last week here. So that is going to be my peppered player, Devontae Smith of the Eagles. What about you, Roan?
Drake London. He's been, one of the top rookies so far. 7, 12, and 6 targets, scored a touchdown 2 straight weeks. And, I expected this Cleveland defense to be better. They've been kind of disappointing, but thankfully they got that touchdown at the end of the game, since I did have the Cleveland defense against you in our matchup last week. So that was great. But Drake London for me.
Yeah, that was the other thing, Lisa. Ronus facing me in a league that he beat me in, like he told you. And I ended up losing by even more. Why? Ronus got that Browns defensive touchdown at the buzzer last Thursday night. So to make matters even worse, pour more salt in the wound there. So that's something that we were talking about. And it was just very, very disappointing.
Well, Lisa, remember that Christmas night when I won the championship on that final play?
Yeah.
It was similar to that.
Yes.
It didn't decide the game, but it gave me the touchdown. It was a similar play. So
is that where the famous Ronus quote of "my guy Jameis" came from?
No.
Is that?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
That was the Eagles-Raiders game.
Yep.
So it was not Jameis.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't remember. I'm not as smart as you. I don't know the
we know that. It's well documented.
I don't know the schedule offhand like you do. So that's impressive. What about you, Lisa? Who's your peppered player?
My peppered's going to be Dallas Cowboys. But look, Noah Brown. I mean, he went undrafted in a lot of the leagues that I drafted, and with already 213 yards on the season and a tutty, I like it, and it's a little unexpected there. CeeDee Lamb, I thought, could be a little bit more consistent this season. I think Noah Brown's going to show him he's here, and he's going to make things more competitive for CeeDee.
Yes. And hey, he was on waivers, a big waiver ad over the last couple of weeks. So that's something else, someone else that continues to get targeted here by Cooper Rush. Let's go to our next preparation. And this just shows if you go to Waffle House, you'll spend more time reading the menu than you will actually eating the food. I'm telling you, know from experience. Capped, where you can get your hash browns prepared with grilled mushrooms if you want that. And for that, what we do, a player or an offense whose upside could be capped or limited due to having a bad matchup here. And I'll start with this one. For me, and this is someone who we're starting to see reports whether or not there could be more of a committee and it could become a battle royal for touches in Kansas City. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not a good setup versus Tampa, hard team to run on. Don't know even what to think and how much confidence to have in him going this. You'd have to rely solely on receptions. Good luck there. So when it comes to anything capped in the bad matchup, I'm going to go with CEH there. What about you, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go in that same game right there. I'm looking at CEH on my teams today. I'm wondering if I feel confident. I don't really like to play running backs against Tampa's defense, and nothing's changed there. We're not seeing missing pieces like we are in other lines. So I'm going to stay in the same with you with CEH, and I'm not even going to be cute about it. I'm going to admit that there's going to be some scrubs that I might play over him this week just to not be cringing the entire late game.
Horrible matchup. So 2 for CEH right there. Not as into him or us. What about you, Ron? Who was going to be your player?
Matthew Stafford. He historically hasn't done well against San Francisco. They've given up the second fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks this year, but they really haven't faced great quarterbacks. Justin Fields, Geno Smith, and Russell Wilson. By the way, Lisa, did you see that Russell Wilson Subway thing that is circulating the internet? Like, how bad was that? What is wrong with this guy? Right? How cringeworthy was that?
It really cringeworthy. I don't think he's as comfortable in front of a camera as he thinks he is. I think that's part of the problem, but it's also cringy to me. You know how I feel about watching sports. The only thing I don't love in the day is how much bad food we have to look at all day. Yeah. And you cannot expect me to believe that these athletes are going, Steph Curry is not eating at Subway. You cannot convince me that he is. He is a chef. So does Russell Wilson.
No, I can't see. I can't
it's like seeing a supermodel with a Clairol ad that she colors her own hair. She doesn't color her own hair.
So
okay?
if Subway came to you for a sponsorship and they paid you a lot of money, would you do it?
I would not do it. This is why I do Fit Soda, because
That's
it's
true,
Fit
yeah.
Soda. It's healthy
Okay.
stuff. I will only market stuff that I want a ton of free supply of and I want to represent, right? I'm not going to go down there. I'm not going to eat a Subway. I'm not going to go to Subway. No, I would not market for Chipotle either, even if it was just pure guac. But if they asked me to, Justin, I would throw the caveat out there, like I would consider it if your guac was more consistent.
See, there you go. Issues that matter. By the way, Ronus, I know that you're not going to be into that soda too as well, right?
Well,
I think he'd like the flavor of it. I'm actually going to send him a couple cases so he could try it. I mean, it's no calories.
He doesn't do
well,
soda.
It depends. I don't do soda, but like, what's
He
the
doesn't
sugar?
do soda. No sugar. It's
okay.
No sugar, no artificial sweeteners. It's all natural flavor. It's got BCAAs. It's got calcium and potassium. That's it. Everything else is zeros. So I think for the flavor factor, you'd like the root beer float because it's got a fun. You feel like you're drinking something sweet, but it's clear because there's nothing fake in it. You'll like it. It'll satisfy you.
Can you tell them how bad soda is, like Coke and all that stuff?
It's awful for you.
Right.
Do you still
Thank you.
drink
And you
that
see,
stuff?
do I ever drink soda?
Nope.
Never.
Nope. And Adam's actually started to eat healthier since I've met
trying.
him. I mean,
I'm
he
trying.
wasn't even into fruits and vegetables.
No,
wasn't
I
really-
always was.
But you didn't do guac. You didn't do guac for a long time.
He doesn't cook at all. He doesn't even know how to use a stove. He doesn't
Well,
have a stove.
Stop.
He doesn't need to. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's fine. As long as he gets his chicken parm at his favorite spot.
That's
and
so
as long as the girl has to cook.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. If she comes in and says, I've never boiled an egg, I don't know how to cook, that's,
Yeah. See
not
the door?
happening. Yeah. It's not
You can't
attractive.
even make toast at this point.
I can do
Yeah,
toast. Relax. I can do guac. I know how to make guac.
Good.
I can
That's
do it.
huge.
Yes, I know
didn't
how to
know
make
that.
guac. Yeah.
Which means he could make avocado toast. So there's one thing
There
we
you
already
go.
put a recipe together. Look, he's
Exactly.
already cooking.
I'm already
What are
at
you
a high
talking
level. Look at that.
We gotta get a video made of Ronus making guacamole because I didn't.
I
Think you could do
did.
that.
I've made it before with one of my exes. She was showing me how to do it, and I learned. I'm like, okay, I can do this. She was all proud watching me scoop out the avocado, chop it up, put the cilantro in, squeeze the lime. I can do that.
Good,
There's not
good
much
one.
I can do when it comes to cooking, but I can do that.
Yeah, good. You at least use cilantro in the guac. I feel like
Yes.
that's very, very essential in a good.
Yeah,
guacamole.
because you put there's a lot of things that some people put in, some people don't. So there's a variety of ways to make it.
Well, one of the things that you can put on your hash browns at Waffle House is chili, and that's called Topped if you want some chili on there. Maybe a little bit intense on the stomach there, so be careful. Lisa, you think it's homemade chili, right?
I do not. I think it comes from a can. I think it has a shelf life of 100 years. I think it could also be used in some sort of like camping food, like Spam. I really don't think anything in there is legit other than the eggs, because you actually watch them crack open the eggs, so they came from a real shell. They're not like poured out like McDonald's where it comes in a thing. So no, I don't think it's made there fresh. By the way, if you look at the place, you see the kitchen. The back is all just storage. It's not like they're baking up things back there. Everything is made right in front of you. So you don't see them making the chili. You just see them opening the can with a very large can opener and then dumping it in the pot. And it sits there all day. And maybe for a couple of days. They might just keep it in the pot because it's a 24-hour restaurant. They could just keep cooking until they run out and open a new can.
So you can get your hash browns topped with 100-year-old chili if you want to. Yep. So how we translate that is a quarterback that we expect to top 33 pass attempts here in week 4. And I had 2 on my list. I'll just go with the one for now. And this one should be kind of obvious, but not really. Trevor Lawrence, though, going up against the Eagles. I really do think that the Eagles are going to be able to put up points against the Jaguars. And I'm thinking that Trevor Lawrence, who has been throwing more as the games have gone on, I'm thinking that he's going to be in line for at least 34 pass attempts. What about you, Ron?
Kyler Murray. I don't see them blowing anyone out, even though I expect them to beat Carolina. He's gone over this in every game. 58 pass attempts last week, and I know they were playing from behind against the Rams. 49 in that overtime game. That's just what they do. A lot of quick, short passes. So Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence. Lisa, who is your top player?
Josh Allen, who can still not get over the fact that he was beat by the Miami Dolphins. He is not letting it go, and he is going to go out there and put up those numbers probably in the first half, just because getting beat by the Dolphins has to be really painful when you're the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. By the way, Matt Deutsch chiming in with the other quarterback I had on this list, Geno Smith, going up against those Lions, that crappy defense right there. So Geno Smith can end up having to throw a good amount too. So those are the 2 that were on my list. Good call by you, Matty Deutsch. Our final preparation when it comes to the Waffle House is something called country, which is sausage gravy, if you want, made in-house at every local Waffle House, poured on top of your hash browns while being prepared. So for country, a team that will score the most points or a leading DFS player of the week. I would say nationwide. We got the London game worldwide. Lisa, who's it going to be?
I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. I know this is a tough defense for Lamar Jackson to be facing in Buffalo. We don't really have the full injury report yet, who they're going to be missing, if any. But, man, he's just doing it. He's just proven he wants that paycheck. So I'm going to go Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson.
And by the way, that white weird gravy with like the brown gray meat, that is just really taking a risk. Just saying.
Yeah, listen, I am with you there. I wanted no part of the country preparation, and yeah, it did not look that appetizing. So, Ron, you a country preparation hash brown type of guy?
No.
I didn't.
I want to say the Lions, but it's got to be someone. It's got to be the Bills or Ravens. I do think there's going to be a shootout. So I'll go the Bills. I think the Ravens will cover. I think this is a field goal game, but the Bills are going to feast this week. This Ravens defense, especially in the secondary, major problems, giving up 42. And they gave up 26 to New England last week with Mac Jones throwing 3 picks. So I'll go the Bills. I kind of want to go the Lions, but that injury report is a little scary right now.
My player that I am going to give for country, Saquon Barkley. Look at what the Giants are dealing with right now, still with their receiver health. Not good. Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kenny Golladay doesn't even want to be there at this point. And I'm thinking because of matchup against the Bears, and the Bears are letting a lot of yards up, on the ground. Not only is Saquon Barkley going to crush them on the ground, he's also going to crush them in the air a bit too, making it a very dominant fantasy performance. Waffle House Hash Brown, the weekly hash out that we do here on the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network. Let's give some final thoughts. Maybe talk about the NBA. I, again, found an interesting set of odds there on DraftKings Sportsbook. The Clippers, the leading team to win the championship. Does Lisa Ann think that the Clippers can win the NBA title? Maybe another team in mind? Find out. It's the Playbook with Fensty, Ronus, and Lisa Ann here on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronus. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronus.
Brandon Staley says Joey Bosa suffered a significant groin injury. My goodness, the Chargers. Dude, I'm out. All right, I do this every year. They suck me in. Every year I'm on the Chargers. And what do? They burn me, man. Burn me. Injuries across the board. How was Justin Herbert in that game late? Why did he even play?
That's a good play.
That line moved significantly. It went down to 3.5. So he said, all right, Herbert's probably not going to play. And then on the scoreboard, it said that Chase Daniel was the starting quarterback. Then the line moved again.
How much does it have to suck being that guy that tweeted that out? That, on the video scoreboard during dress rehearsal, Chase Daniel.
But when you were reading the tea leaves, you had to be like, you know what? This is not a good play. Like, you can't roll with him. You know he's banged up. There was questions all week. They're a disaster right now. They lost Slater, one of their linemen for the year. They have so many injuries right now. It's the same story with the Chargers every single year, man.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronus. Presented by FantasyAlarm.com on Bettor Sports Network. However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network.
Betsy, Ronus, and Lisa Ann, new hosts here on Bettor Sports Network. And after the big announcement made early in the show, Lisa, again, congratulations and welcome to BSN. And you'll be able to hear Lisa and Rick Kamla on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Live. Lisa, again, it's going to be very awesome. And we're going to have to do a little crosstalk here between the two shows, being that you're going to be after us here. So it's just great having you here on the network.
Thank you. It is so great to be here. Great to reconnect with both of you. Adam, it's always great to be on air with you, but I actually got to FaceTime this afternoon with Fensty. I don't know if you heard about this, Adam, but I wanted to show him my setup and this little stand that I had. And we had got on the phone. I'm like, yo, let's FaceTime. So that was kind of a delight, right?
Absolutely. Learned a lot about technology from Lisa Ann too, especially with soundproofing your home studios. It is something that is very, very important. Just like all of you tuning into Bettor Sports Live right after us, Jen Piacenti and Corey Parson will be hanging out with you. And then after that, Dynasty Nerds with Garrett Price, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, replay of our box break of 2022 Panini Gold Standard NFL cards, 11 p.m. to midnight Eastern. Ron and I will be back on 5 p.m. Eastern for the Playbook. If you're just joining us here, besides the fact that Lisa Ann is going to be hosting Wednesdays with Rick Kamla, 7 p.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Live. We were all talking about the game. We all think that the Bengals are going to win and cover this evening against the Miami Dolphins. Tua, Waddle, they're both banged up, but they're going to play from everything that we saw in Armstead as well. Let's talk a little NBA for a second, though, because, Lisa, I was looking at the odds on DraftKings Sportsbook, and I was a little bit surprised about the Los Angeles Clippers, because this is a team that has had a lot of health issues. You know the deal with Kawhi Leonard by now. We have to assume that he's going to miss a handful of games. Paul George has had health issues, and they've had to rely on other offensive weapons like Reggie Jackson. They just got John Wall. They still have Norman Powell, but they don't really have much in the front court besides Zubac and Marcus Morris. Would you be as surprised as I was to see that the Clippers are the top dogs when it comes to the odds to win the NBA championship?
I really would, because I think you're looking at all of that talent, and you have to think, age is going to play a role, rest days are going to play a role, and that chemistry, right? So I think we're really not looking at the Nets at what they should be, only because we haven't seen their players all play at the same time. We don't really know what to expect out of Ben Simmons, who's 100% recovered from surgery. ready to play. I think last year was just so wily with how things went for the Nets, but we've been waiting for this team to really be the team. And if it wasn't for everything that happened the way that it did between pandemic and injuries and Kyrie, everything would be different. We'd still be talking about the Nets like we were talking about the Nets 3 years ago, wouldn't we? And that was even before Ben Simmons.
No, absolutely. That I'm very interested to see what happens there. What do you think, Ron? Your job is on the line. Our boss, Matt Deutsch, is saying, big Gesicki night, get him in your lineup. What do you think? Is he right or is he onto something or nah?
I don't see a big Gesicki night. I mean, I think you still got to be concerned with Tua and his back.
Yeah, hey, boss, Ronus said it, not me. You know who to fire here. You can catch Lisa every Wednesday with Rick Campbell, Bettor Sports Live, Fensty and Ronus. We outplays with poses.
Fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.